For this screencast, we're going to have a look at how we place images into the text of our play. Now, first of all, I'm just going to cover the basics of placing an image into InDesign anyway, before we make sure that we can put it into the correct place. So first of all, let's pick up our selection tool, that is the black arrow there, and then I'm going to go to place. Now it opens at the moment in my images folder within my project folder for this particular book, The Midsummer Night's Dream. I'm looking currently for an image of Athens, which is this one here. I'll turn off replace selected item there. I just recommend that because what so often happens is you accidentally replace something that you've selected on the screen. So make sure that you turn that off. And then we'll just simply hit open. Now here's the cursor with the image. This image, I'm going to just put this image down on the pasteboard. As you can see, it's far too big. So now with my Shift and Command keys selected on my keyboard, I'm now going to drag that little corner square towards the middle of the image so that I reduce the size of the image. So remember, we only really want to reduce the size of the image. We don't want to increase the size of the image. If we increase the size of the image, there's a danger that we'll reduce the resolution of the image. So make sure that your image is large enough. And we just reduce it down a little bit further so that we know that we can fit it onto the page. We're not too concerned about being accurate about this at the moment, because you'll see in a moment there are options for making this more of an automatic process. Okay, so now the idea is I want to put this image around about here underneath the name of the location for this particular scene. I can place it here and then style the text wrap so that the text moves out of the way, but the point is that we really want to make sure that we lock this image into the correct place, so that if at any stage in the future we decide to move this page on, like perhaps putting a table of contents or a colophon page before the dramati personae, we might then find that this image sticks to the page but it doesn't stay with the text. So the trick with this is to make sure that the image is anchored, which is the next stage that we want to go into. Okay, now anchoring the image is one thing, but the other thing that we might want to consider, and I think it's a very important feature of InDesign, is the ability to have object styles. And so that we can make an object style for this graphic, or for all of the images that appear in the same location, i.e. at the beginning of each scene, and we can create an object style so that we get consistency throughout the whole of our book. So what I'm going to do is to show you the Object Styles panel, which, as you can see, is one of my styles options here. Just in case you don't know where to find this, you're going basically to the window, Styles and Object Styles. There we are. That's another way of finding it, so I already had it on the screen here. Now at the moment, the graphic that I've got selected is using no object style at all. So I'm going to create a new object style, and this object style I'm going to call, by double clicking on it, you see, I'm going to call it the scene image, like this, and you'll see that I've got this large panel open at the moment that allows me to style all sorts of things, all sorts of features of an object, be it a graphic object actually or a text object, but in this case it's a graphic object. And you can see on the basic attributes here I can turn some of these things on or off, but for a start let's actually just look at stroke. With stroke we can say, for example, have a black outline in what should we say, 0.25 of a point. If I hit preview, we're not going to see very much because the blue outline is covering over our black stroke that we've applied, but that will now have a stroke around it, or an outline. Other features in here include the ability to wrap the text. So as I place the graphic onto the page, I can decide how the text wraps around it. So at the moment there's no text wrap. We can have it wrapping around the whole bounding box, meaning that text, if it was a small image, text could go to the left and the right and above and below. Or if we had a shaped object, we could wrap it around that shape. Or in our case, we actually want, what we want to happen is that we want the text to jump from one side of the image to the other. In other words, it'll move out of the way when we put the graphic on the page. We can offset this, and if I turn off this little anchor icon, make sure it's turned off, I can put some space below the image, and we'll leave above for the moment and come back to that if we need to. Okay, there are other options in here which we don't need to be too concerned about, but I'm going to come back to that in a moment. As you'll see, there will be a reason for us to come back to that. Okay, now we now have that object selected with the scene image object style. Now the next task for us is to, let's just move that out of the way, is to anchor this image in the right place. And to do this, we use this little blue, if you can observe this, there's a little blue square up in towards the top right of the image. And as I roll over it, it does actually give you the instructions about how to anchor the image. But I'm going to tell you now that what we have to do is to press the Shift key on the keyboard and drag that blue square into the point that we want it to be anchored. So you can see I'm not moving the actual image, but just a little T reference. Let go, and as you can see, we've now anchored the image at that point. You can see there's a dotted line that's telling me that is anchored. So it's actually at the moment anchored the top left reference point in the image to the point in the text. Okay, now we can move this into whatever position we want. We can move it by dragging it onto the screen. And effectively we are overriding the style that we've created, because as you'll see in a moment, the style that I've created does not include the position that I've made. So let's actually look here. So if you can see that in the object styles, the scene image now has a little plus sign against it, which means that it's an override. If I hit the Alt key and click that, you'll see that it moves into a different position. That's because the position is not part of our style. So let's double click on scene image and have a look now at the anchored object options. And you'll see at the moment by default the position of this is in line or above the line. It's actually in line on the text with the text, although you can't see the text at the moment, it's hidden. Okay, so what we have to do is to change this to be a custom position. And then what I'm going to do is to change the reference point. So if you remember, the reference point was originally in the top left. I'm going to change that to the center, and I'm also going to change the position on the page to be centered. And this will position the graphic centrally by default. Let's just click OK, and you'll see that it's still in the wrong place, but it's at least in the position, in the correct position, left and right. Okay, now what I can do is to slide this image down until I'm in the position that I prefer. Okay, so let's just make sure that we're in the correct XY position. There we are. So now you can see that we've got the image and it's anchored at that position, but we've still got an override here. That's because we've now changed the Y. As you can see, if I roll over it, overrides, anchored object has an option, a Y offset. But rather than adjust that manually, what I can do is to right click over scene image plus, right click over it, and move here to say redefine the style. So this will redefine the style based on my settings. There it is. So now the style that I've created, the object style that I've created, let's have a look at it. Now includes, under the anchored object options, a Y offset of 46.613 millimeters. Okay, now I can leave that as it is, or I can adjust that whatever I like. I think what I will do while I'm about it is just to go into my text wrap and adjust the offset at the bottom, because that seems to me to be rather too much. So let's just get rid of some of that. Let's make it 5 millimeters, 4 millimeters even. Okay. Okay, so now you can see I have a style ready to use in all cases whenever I place an image in the same typical position. One more thing, although it's only an option, of course, is that we can automatically try to size the image. And if we do that by going to Scene Image Object Style again, and if you look here, you can see we have something called the Text Frame Auto Size options. And I can say height and width, and then I can change this to a minimum width of the width of our page. So I don't know what that is at the moment, but it is possible for me to change that so that it automatically would change that position. Okay, let's just cancel that for the moment and leave that exactly where it is. So that just explains to you how we manage the process of anchoring an image and also styling an object style, or creating an object style, so that we have some kind of consistency in the way that that works. Let's move now to our next scene. Okay, and as you can see, I'm ready, prepared here with another image, which I've also got on my pasteboard. And if I now just click on that and select the scene image object, just move that out of the way so that you can see what happens. Okay, that's now selected the scene image, and I'm now going to anchor that image into this position. Make sure that I click Alt onto this. Alt click should now position it in exactly the same place, or the right place. Okay, so there we are. That's using that object style to be consistent throughout the whole of the play. Thank you.